All right. So you ever walk into like a factory or a construction site, maybe even just like a big storeroom,
Yeah.
and you see all those signs, right? Like different colors, different
Yeah.
symbols. I mean, we all know kind of
Yeah.
what they mean.
Right. Green is usually good, red is usually bad.
But like, what's the actual system behind all that?
Yeah, good point. There's actually a whole science to it.
Today, we're going to deep dive into that visual language of safety. Specifically, we're looking at the standards from OSHA, that's the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, and ANSI, the American National Standards Institute.
So the goal here is to really help you, the listener, understand those silent signals.
So no matter where you are, you can spot potential risks, understand the safety measures, and basically just stay safe. All right, let's jump in.
I think what's really cool is how these signs, they tap into our like almost instinctive reactions to color.
Yeah, for sure.
Like think about red. I mean, it's universal, right?
Yeah.
Red means danger. Stop, stop signs, brake lights, it grabs your attention. And both OSHA and ANSI, they use that same principle. Red is for imminent hazards. Things like emergency stop buttons on machinery or where the fire extinguishers are.
Yeah. And what about, I always see like a fluorescent orange, or sometimes it's more like an orange-red.
Right.
What's that all about?
So that specific shade, that's all about biological hazards. So think biohazard waste, things like that. It's a very specific warning, but obviously super important in the right context.
Right. Okay, and then there's yellow, which is more like caution.
Exactly. Yellow is all about potential hazards, like, a wet floor you could slip, or maybe it's marking containers with explosives or corrosive chemicals. Yellow is that heads up, like, hey, pay attention here, be careful.
Gotcha. And then what about, I've seen orange too. Is that the same as yellow?
It's similar, but orange is more of a direct warning. Often it's used for hazardous parts of equipment, like maybe a rotating machine part that could cause, a cut or even crush you.
Oh, wow. Okay. So yellow is like general caution. Orange is like, whoa, back up.
Pretty much, yeah. Good way to think about it.
Okay. And then, of course, we've got green. Green is good.
Green is good. Green means safety. So you'll see it for first aid stations, safety showers, respirators, things like that. It's basically showing you where the safe stuff is.
Okay. That makes sense. What about blue? I feel like I see blue signs sometimes.
Yeah, blue is pretty straightforward. It's mainly for information. So like general notices, bulletin boards, that kind of thing.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I see like black and white or sometimes black and yellow together for like boundaries and things like that.
Yep. So those combinations are often used for, like you said, boundaries, traffic lanes, maybe marking stairs, that sort of thing. It's about safely navigating the physical space.
Right. Makes sense. And then there's magenta, which I don't see too often, but...
Yeah, magenta is pretty specific.
What's that about?
It's for radiation warnings. So anything dealing with X-rays or alpha, beta, gamma radiation, radioactive materials.
So if you see magenta, like, run.
Pretty much.
Okay, so he's got the colors down. But OSHA, they actually take it a step further, right?
We do. They have these specific categories for their warning signs.
Yeah, like danger, caution. Next.
Exactly. So you've got danger signs, which are always red, black, and white. Those are for immediate threats like don't touch this or you will die kind of stuff.
Right. No messing around.
Nope. Then there's caution signs. Those are the ones with the yellow background and usually a black panel with the message.
Yeah, I see those a lot.
Those are for potential hazards or maybe unsafe practices. Like think of it as proceed carefully, but you got to be extra careful here.
Right. Okay, so danger is like stop, don't do this. Caution is like proceed, but be really careful.
Right. And then OSHA also has safety instruction signs. Those are white with a green panel and white lettering.
So those are more about like guidelines and best practices.
Yeah, exactly. Think of it as, hey, here's a suggestion to help you stay safe.
Okay, that makes sense.
And ANSI, they actually go even further. They have even more categories.
Like even more specific than that.
Yeah, so they have like notice signs and fire safety signs and a few others. It allows for even more targeted communication depending on the situation.
So it's like a whole language, basically.
It really is.
Okay, now let's talk about something that might seem a little random, but it's actually super important in a lot of workplaces.
Pipes.
Oh yeah, pipes.
Yeah. So ANSI actually has a whole system for identifying what's flowing through those pipes just by looking at them.
Right. And it's all about hazard level.
So how does that work?
So for high hazard materials, the really dangerous stuff, think corrosives, flammables, things that are super hot or under high pressure, radioactive materials, that kind of thing, those pipes will have black lettering on a yellow background.
Okay, yellow again.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Danger. Exactly. Now for less hazardous liquids, you'll see white lettering on a green background.
Okay, green. Good.
And for gases that are considered low hazard, it's white lettering on a blue background.
Okay. And then what about for fire suppression stuff, like sprinklers and all that?
That's white lettering on a red background.
So red is kind of like danger and fire suppression at the same time.
It is, yeah. It's about grabbing your attention.
Okay. But it's not just about the color, right? I mean, the label actually has to say what's in the pipe.
Oh, absolutely. So the label has to clearly state what's flowing through there. Like it'll say something like, steam 100 PSI, that's pounds per square inch gauge, a way to measure pressure.
Okay. I would have no idea what that meant.
Right. But someone who works in that environment would know exactly what that means.
Right, right.
And then the label also has to show which direction the stuff is flowing, so they use arrows for that.
Oh, that's smart.
And get this, ANSI even specifies how big those letters on the label need to be. It depends on the diameter of the pipe. So the bigger the pipe, the bigger the letters.
So you can actually see it from far away.
Exactly. You got to be able to read it clearly from a safe distance. And it's not just the size of the letters, it's also about where those labels are placed.
Yeah, because you can't always walk right up to the pipe.
Exactly. So if you're looking up at a pipe, the label will be on the bottom. If you're looking straight on, it'll be at eye level, and if you're looking down, it'll be on the top. And they always put labels near valves, branches, entrances, and exits.
So you always know what you're dealing with no matter where you are.
Exactly. It's all about making that information easily accessible.
So basically, they put a lot of thought into this.
Yeah, they really have.
Like a ton of thought.
And it makes sense, right?
Right, yeah.
Because it's all about safety. They've created a system that's clear and consistent no matter where you work, no matter what your job is.
And it's so important because, not everyone's going to be an expert on all the hazards in a workplace.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So having these visual cues, this standardized language, it helps everyone understand the risks and react appropriately. Even if you've never seen that specific chemical before, you see the yellow and black, to be careful.
Yeah. So to sum it all up, this whole system of color coding and standardized signs, it's really crucial for understanding workplace hazards and safety information. And it's not just made up. There are specific standards from OSHA and ANSI that guide the design and application of these signs.
Exactly. And the different colors and sign types, they convey very specific levels and types of risks. And we even saw how something as simple as labeling a pipe, there's a whole thought-out process behind it. It's designed for maximum clarity and safety.
Yeah, really makes you appreciate all the thought that goes into keeping people safe at work.
It does.
All right, so here's something for you to think about, as you're walking around today. Just notice how many of these visual cues you see, not just in workplaces, but everywhere.
Yeah.
Think about traffic lights, pedestrian crossings, even the icons on your phone.
We're surrounded by these visual systems that communicate vital information, often without us even realizing it. How effective are they? Are there ways they could be improved? Just something to ponder.
And that is our deep dive into the fascinating world of safety signs and signals. We'll see you next time.